The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom is the greatest game I've ever played. It's not the prettiest, nor does it have the best story, but it's still my favorite game of all time. And I'm tired of it. There's no denying that it's better than Breath of the Wild in nearly every way, and I'm not the first to say this. But I really want to dive into why I think this game is so special and also so boring. To me, Tears of the Kingdom is the perfect game. An open world I can explore in any way I please, the best combat system in any game aside from Spider-Man, seemingly endless quests and puzzles, challenging monsters and boss fights, and a great story to bring it all together. The abilities were fun to use and thought-provoking in shrines as well as the overworld. The world expansion from Breath of the Wild was massive and effective. The whole experience felt immersive and like I would never reach the end. And then I did. Really fast. Now obviously part of the problem was me wanting to get through the story quickly. After all, my intention was to beat it fast, but the post-Ganon clarity hit like a Lionel when I realized there was nothing else to strive for. Breath of the Wild captivated me for hundreds of hours, partly because I was less skilled at video games and took longer to beat the main storyline, but also because the entirely new world had me exploring and questing for hundreds of hours, even after killing Dark Beast. And that's the problem. Tears of the Kingdom is the same world. It had improved in many ways, essentially doubling in size due to the depths, but the depths were largely empty and uninteresting. I completed the few areas of interest and quests down there. Those had already grown repetitive before their endings. Then I set out to find every single light route. I found some cool cliffs and scenery, but they didn't do anything. My favorite spot in the entire underworld is a massive statue on a huge cliff, but it offers no reward upon reaching it. Now, when I went back to record this area, I discovered that this is a bargainer statue, which is a little better, but still. Even the gear I discovered in the dark did not excite me in the slightest. The depths were mysterious, enticing, then ultimately boring. Now, let's talk Airborne map expansion, the Sky. Aside from the Great Sky Island and Thunderhead Isles, the Sky was largely just puzzles that were quite easy to solve. The very same abilities that made this game so fun eventually made it far too easy. Why would I spend time building a glider out of the parts given to me when I could just auto-build my trusty air bike in 3 seconds? I spent more than enough time in the depths to have the Zonite to build anything, not to mention the Zonite parts I'd gathered throughout the journey. The Sky Crystals just didn't pose a challenge after the first few islands. After I traversed Thunderhead Isles early on, I was never excited about anything I found in the sky after that. It felt largely empty. This would all have been fine if I could count on a DLC coming out in a year, but the devs specifically said there would be no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. It's understandable given that the entire game was made due to there being too many ideas for a Breath of the Wild DLC, but does not change the fact that Tears feels short at best and trivial at worst. Reusing the map seemed like a good idea with all the expansions they made, but quickly you realize it's the same map. Even with everything new that they added, nothing really feels new. But I'm gonna be real, it's not all bad. Like I said earlier, Tears of the Kingdom is the greatest game I've ever played, so I must have some good things to say about it, right? First, let's talk story. Tears of the Kingdom storyline is incredible, from the opening scene to the final dive out of the sky. I shed tears multiple times during my first playthrough, and seeing Zelda make the ultimate sacrifice to set Link up to save the world thousands of years later was incredibly moving. It was the best her dad would be proud moment, and watching those scenes made me relive the memories from Breath of the Wild. I love the way memories were changed to geoglyphs. It felt so much more important to the world and the story as a whole. My only gripe concerning the story was how every champion's descendant had the exact same lines and cutscene after beating their respective temples. That being said, the repetition did make me love Mineru's scenes even more, but I don't really think that's a positive. I wish we got more Mineru content. Maybe an official spin-off or fan-made mod will come in the future. I know, wishful thinking, but she was my favorite character by far. The story was also backed by an incredible soundtrack which further proved that Nintendo consistently nails music. Every part of the world was paired with the most amazing and fitting music. From gliding through the sky to running through a village, the music never gets old. The sound design for weapons, monsters, enemies, NPCs, wildlife, caves, nature, and the depths were all incredible. The first time I dove into a chasm, I was amazed. I had to stop playing for a second. That one note conveys so much dread as you dive into the Hyrulean underworld. You feel like you've just made a big mistake plunging into the darkness. Approaching Ganon's lair underground has the best build-up music and ambience of all time. The feeling is unforgettable. Tears of the Kingdom is a gift to the ears. Next up, characters. I loved the NPCs in this Hyrule. From the tiny details of seeing little ones in Hateno Village a few years older to the monster fighting brigade, even the NPCs with no relation to the story had so much character and life to them. They made the world feel real, especially the election in Hateno Village. Also, the main story characters like Minoru, Pura, Tulin, and Yunobo were fantastic. The art, the personalities, the interactions, they made me feel like I was talking to real people with real passions and real problems. Problems that I could solve. This is definitely one of Tears of the Kingdom's strengths, and the best part of the world that felt familiar. It also stands as one of the only reasons to play the game after defeating Ganondorf, because discovering all the new and interesting characters keeps the game and world interesting. Just writing this now makes me want to go do side quests for the rest of the day. I also love the abilities in this game. When it first came out, I thought I was going to miss Magnesis, Cryonis, Stasis, and Remote Bombs, but as soon as I got Ultra Hand, I knew those abilities were now just a memory. Ultra Hand improved on Magnesis, Recall is a better Stasis, Ascend is the best way to climb anything, and Fused fixed the durability problem without ruining the durability mechanic. Gameplay-wise, Tears is just better. The champion abilities are the only mechanic where Breath of the Wild comes out on top. Aside from Tulin, the champion abilities just feel clunky. Most of the time it feels laborious to go find the champion I want, activate the ability, then use the ability, just to miss my target or have it not work the way I want. Tulin is always with you when gliding, so his gust ability is perfect. His archery also comes in handy in fights, truly the best champion all around. Yunobo is useless outside of the Fire Temple. Even when you think he'd be perfect to break down a large rock, you quickly realize it's better to burn through weapon durability than take the time to let him recharge just to break 5% of the rock again. Sidon's water bubble is nice when you need to stay cool, but during combat it's more of a hassle to activate than it's worth. Riju's lightning strike was a good attempt at emulating Urbosa's fury, but again it takes longer to activate and use than it takes to kill the enemy with normal combat. Not even going to mention the 5th champion ability. Such a huge disappointment. I guess this does tie into the Descendants not being as strong as the champions from Breath of the Wild, so story-wise it tracks, but man do I miss Rivali's Gale and Urbosa Fury. One thing that was for sure the opposite of a disappointment was the final fight against Ganondorf. If you have not beat Daddy Ganon yet, please stop watching and come back after you have. This message is mainly for my wife Emre. Please pause here and go away respectfully. Everything about the game's finale was exhilarating. Diving under Hyrule and fighting through room after room of monsters was wildly exciting. Getting to the horde fights was terrifying, and beating wave after wave felt so good. The approach truly felt dangerous and like I could game over at any time, unlike Hyrule Castle in Breath of the Wild, which felt largely underwhelming. Just walking into the castle to watch Malice incarnate Ganon get half his health zapped? I had never played a Zelda game before, and my only thought after killing him in Breath of the Wild was, I thought these were supposed to be hard. Tears of the Kingdom changed everything for the better, and that is why I wish I never beat it. The final hour of playing Tears of the Kingdom was perfect. Killing wave after wave felt better and better. I felt untouchable, the champions coming to aid last second, watching hordes go down one by one. That feeling has not been matched, and I fear it never will. Then I entered Ganondorf's lair. The energy and terror were palpable, the music tense and heavy, the air felt hard to breathe, and I was ready. Ganondorf's first phase was great. A solid fight that felt simple and easy. Nothing too surprising right off the bat. Then he does a fucking backflip? Right then I knew I was wrong about this being an easy fight. Entering the second phase was scary enough on its own. Then his health bar kept going nearly off the screen? I was relieved to have the champions rush in when his phantom clones appeared. The difficulty had a slight uptick here, but when I got him to half health and he knocked out the champions, the fight got hard. He was dealing me blow after blow, I couldn't land a hit, then he started deleting my hearts? I wanted a tougher final boss after Breath of the Wild's Calamity Ganon, and oh my gods did Nintendo deliver. For multiple minutes I could not land a hit, could not get the timing under control, could not reach him. Finally, after the moves repeated enough, I was able to land some blows, and eventually I wore him down. The next scene was breathtaking. Seeing him turn in front of me and carry me into the sky was terrifying. The final fight in the air was beautiful and a perfectly fitting end, fighting with the princess at my side, but wow, was it too easy. The setting and story made it better than the Dark Beast fight from Breath of the Wild, but the fight itself was just as pedestrian. Despite this, in the end Nintendo did listen to fans critiquing Breath of the Wild's finale as too easy. Demon King Ganondorf was a brilliant fight and experience, and even replaying it with more weapons and armor was a difficult fight. The use of the depths and sky here were the perfect ending to a beautiful game, and going back to these end scenes was just as powerful the second time, even if I saw the backflips coming. Overall, Tears of the Kingdom is a masterpiece. It is the final product of the rough draft that was Breath of the Wild, but its biggest problem is that it used the same formula. So much was improved and implemented, but it was still Hyrule with shrines and labyrinths and dungeons, and it had the same weapons and armor and food and wildlife, and that's the exact same reason I love it. I'm not going to pretend it is an objectively perfect game. Of course it has flaws, but it is perfect to me. When I had the idea for this video, I honestly didn't think I would have this many positives to share. Of course I loved the game, but hearing so many people fall out of love with it made me forget that passion. I agreed with all of their points, but isn't that sameness why I played it for hundreds of hours? After writing this script and recording gameplay for the video, I feel ready to dump another 100 hours into the post-calamity world of Hyrule. Familiarity is comforting, and everyone needs a little comfort in their lives. In the end, I disagree with my own title for this video. I am so happy I beat Tears of the Kingdom, and I cannot wait to do it all over again. If you want to watch me play Tears of the Kingdom and a few other games, check out my Twitch channel where I will be streaming it live every week. Link will be in the description. Like I said at the start, I'm not the first to bring up some of these points. In fact, some of my favorite YouTubers have already made videos talking about this, and I highly recommend you go watch them. Massive shoutouts to Zeltic, Rasputin, PointCrow, Mr. A Game, Player5, Doug, and many more of my favorite YouTubers. Please check them out for some great Tears content. All their links are also in the description. If you took the time to watch this video, thank you. I really appreciate anyone taking the time to watch what I create. And if you enjoyed it, please drop a like, comment below, and subscribe for more Tears of the Kingdom content in the future. Peace!
Link, how are you?